Back. Marcus, over to you.
Well, we're about to go then with this Gerry Marshall Trophy Group 1 touring car race. The Capri is very quick out of the blocks in the middle, and Roger Wills made a great start, going past his teammate Camaro. One of the RX-7s very slow away, but of course they've got no torque on those rotary engines. You've got to really wind them up.
The Belga Capri's smoking like a kettle.
Yep, smoking Belga. Here they go. And there's a little Mini in third place. It's Emanuele Pirro who leads the chase. Behind him, Chris Ward. The Camaro pops back out of the Paul Potchel's Capri slipstream and goes up into fourth place. That's Stuart Graham, who drove the original Fabergé Camaro. And his mechanic of the time, Keith Fell, is here, looking after the Sterling Moss Lotus 18.
Well, fantastic racing at the front. It's nearly bumper to bumper between the leader, the number 8 Capri, and the... dribbling a little out the back is the Rover 23 that won yesterday's race with Chris Ward at the wheel, and just enough space at the edge of the track for him not to go on the grass at Lavard. But the Capri, number 8, leading the way, Emanuele Pirro. And look, of course, yesterday he started from pit lane and still came up to second place. And those beyond about fifth place can see nothing because the number 11 Capri is spitting so much oil smoke out at the back.
Well, Nick Swift's been gobbled up by Stuart Graham. Stuart Graham now winding the Camaro up, but the other V8 up ahead of him. That's the Rover of Chris Ward. Goes down the inside of Emanuele Pirro, going down towards Woodcote Corner. Has the braking capacity to get through and get round the Patrick Motorsport Duckham's car up over the curbs, and Pirro dives back, has a look up the inside, has a nibble, but decides better of it. Stuart Graham's in third place, Nick Swift is in fourth place, Roger Wills very slow sideways in fifth, Potchel's sixth. The Belga car is next up, and one of the cars just clipped the polystyrene bales there on the exit of the chicane.
Well, I think one thing that's very interesting there is the way that the Camaro, after a truly awful start, when she lost about 3 or 4 positions, up there into third place ahead of the Mini.
Yes, he's not driven a proper Camaro, race Camaro, for something like 40 years, he was saying, but he did test one with a display one with an automatic gearbox at Silverstone a couple of years ago. So dressed as his old car, I think. But Stuart Graham, the only man to win tourist trophy races on 2 wheels and 4, already up into third place, ahead of Nick Swift in the giant killing Mini. There's Ivan Mahe in the 41 Camaro, 25. That's the Rob Gravett, Anthony Robinson car. Rob Gravett now wanting to make a return to racing. He's so enthusiastic about this. It's 3 for the lead. A belching flame from the exhaust header is Stuart Graham there with the Camaro owned by Nigel Garrett.
Well, it's spectacular even without the flames, but really that Camaro has hauled them in, and the heroics at the start from Emanuele Pirro. He just doesn't have the grunt that the Rover enjoys, and notably not what the Camaro can offer there. The Brute 33 Special hooning along down towards Woodcote, and under braking, mighty, of course, he's a heavier car, he has to pull it down slower.
Just amazing, the Camaro just lumbered past the Capri.
Not that Pirro's backing off, he knows around the fiddly bits he's got to use the better handling of the Ford Capri, and they make that wonderful sound. And yesterday was the first time I'd heard the Capri V6 for years, for decades. It's a sound I'd forgotten. It's a great sound.
Stuart Graham knows that he can't let Chris Ward get away. He's got the excess power, he's got the surfeit of power. Roger Wills, very smoky underneath that Brute.
Yeah, but he's closing in on fourth place, isn't he? Really catching the Mini.
Absolutely. Giving it plenty, but it's getting worse, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I just wonder how slippery it is for those behind. I'm not sure. He's not the only smoking Capri, but the lead battle, let's go back to that if we can. It's absolutely fantastic as the Mini is being attacked, Nick Swift being pushed hard by Roger Wills. Chris Ward, who's definitely leaking quite, looks like fuel actually coming out of the back of the race-leading Rover. And that might make it quite interesting indeed for the Camaro behind. Let's have a look. It's a back right-hand corner where the leak is coming from, but not there. But when he goes out of St Mary's, where the weight is on the other side of the car.
Just chuck something out of the filler maybe, or out of the breather. And now comes the Camaro down the side, round through the kink, and he takes the lead. Stuart Graham snatches the lead on this lap 3 of the Gerry Marshall Trophy race. Chris Ward down into second place in the Rover. And Roger Wills grunts past the Mini into fourth place. So Pirro still third. Wills is now into fourth. The Kiwi going through ahead. Oh, marvellous action. Three-wheeling through Woodcote Corner.
Have you noticed how Roger Wills has got both of his windows open at the front? I wonder if there's a lot of the smoke we see out the back of the car, if that's filling the cockpit at the same time. Emanuele Pirro in another Capri, but running in third place, has his closed. But if you take a look, the windows are down on the Wills car, number 11.
Oh, someone else has clobbered the
No, number 3.
Oh, it's number 3. Paul Podium's gone round in the Esso Capri. The car that Alex Bunton's going to drive later. We saw the bits of polystyrene before I saw the spun car. Rupert Keegan's getting stuck into battle there as well. And Jochen Mass behind him, 2 ex-Grand Prix drivers. Keegan in 12th, Mass in 13th. Working lap 4 now, Capri battle. And this is the 15 car, and that looks like Darren Turner. It is, up ahead of the Belga car. That's a battle for 7th place. Turner now running in 7th. I'm sure I can smell oil in the air, even in the commentary box. But you can see these Capris, they're breathing fairly heavily, aren't they?
Yeah, they're looking good. They're smoking a fair bit, but the places keep changing, which is just how it was in period, and that's why this is so wonderful.
And here we go. This is how Paul Podium came out of the chicane. Didn't actually touch the chicane. We saw some of polystyrene being kicked around, but he managed to lock it all up before he hit the conveyor belting, so that's all right. He kept it off the side. Here are our leaders coming through into the 4th lap. It's Graham from Ward by 1.6 seconds, and in 3rd place, 1.2 behind Chris Ward is Emanuele Pirro, of course, not the vastly experienced John Young taking that car over.
Indeed, of course, this is something we do have to consider. How good is each pairing? How's the relative weighting? But we know with Pirro they've got a massive start, but John Young never knowingly went slow in a racing car. That is a very, very strong pairing.
Yeah, John Young's very quick. Of course, Andrew Smith is quick, driving the Rover. And see that Nigel Garrett's got a mountain to climb, really, in a way, because while he's a very good driver, he's got little experience of the Camaro, and he'll find that he's got to get his clog down and probably leave Stuart Graham as long as possible. There is Jochen Mass. He's got ahead of Rupert Keegan and now clawing his way up towards the Scott Andrews team triplex Rover. Jochen Mass comes down the outside and at the inside before No Name in the BMW. Very, very pretty car. Jochen drove one of these cars.
Yes, but not since 1970, was it, Marcus?
Exactly. He's Bavarian by birth, of course, Jochen Mass, so it's only appropriate that in his early days, at least, he drove for the Bavarian mark.
And it's certainly the BMW 2002 looks very well balanced indeed compared to some of the Rovers and things around it. But the sheer power that Chevrolet Camaro #1 has leading this race, but it's being driven absolutely beautifully.
Jochen said that the BMW doesn't have a lot of power, but it handles well, nicely prepared. 2.2 seconds behind, so it's going out a little bit, Graham to Ward. 1.2 behind is Pirro.
And slightly catching, actually.
Wills and Swift next up, then the Nidell Rover, then Darren Turner, who's fought his way up ahead of the De Boerman and Thibaut Belgian Capri. The Lindsay Waghorn car next up.
Yep, to get around the Opel, no problem at all. The Commodore is passed, second and third are passed there.
Jochen Mass up into 10.
So this is just my childhood revisited.
That's Gravit, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And then Rupert Keegan in the white and blue Alfetta. And then cars almost nose to tail. Rover, Dolomite, Alfetta, and the other Camaro. So what a fantastic race. And I do love the way these cars, particularly the Capris and the Rovers, have to be loaded up before the corner. And St Mary's is such a great place to watch.
Gravit's getting well stuck in. It's Scott Andrews, not Gavin, in that Rover. So Ollie Gavin is a trump card up Tim Scott Andrews' sleeve. Here comes Gravit on the smoke. Someone's gone bang behind coming out of Lavin. And Ivan Mahe coming up on them in the Chevrolet Camaro. Big winner at Pau last year, Ivan Mahe in his AC Cobra.
Yeah, I think someone's actually had an engine go, because in the background again I could see the smoke. I couldn't see any cars off at the edge of the circuit, so you could have a pit caller. And also you could have incidents down into the chicane if he's spitting oil.
And some oil flags. Yeah. Oh yes, we've got a very, very smoky Capri. Is that the Darren Turner car?
There's the Gauloise one, 17. Started from the back of the grid.
So that's
Holman Blackburn.
50 years on from his race debut.
Dolomite gets back in front of Mahe.
getting closer up front, isn't it? 1.6 and 1.1 the gap back to Pirro in third place. So 2.8 split the top three after 6 laps.
Yeah, just looking out to see where they are, the first 3 relative to back markers, and where they're going to catch them next. But coming down towards the end of the lap, I've got a camera on them at the moment. So
Yvonne Mahay's gone past Rob Gravitt, and now he's trying to use the Camaro grunt to get on terms with Rupert Keegan, who goes inside Tim Scott Andrews down at Lavant Corner in the Alpilate Alfa Romeo. This is where Mahay's car comes into its own.
What's happened to Rob Gravitt? He seems to have slowed right down.
He's got problems.
Well, I suppose irony does have a place occasionally in motor racing, but I just noticed that the number 24 car was coming to the Triplex sponsor car, had no windscreen. Oh, that's the 25 pulling off, but the 24 one, another Dolomite sprint, sponsored by Triplex, no windscreen on board.
Go, Rupert Keegan trying to get to terms with Scott Andrews, comes up the inside, that's all very tight. The leap on the brakes. Mahay behind them with the Camaro. Chris Snowden, local man, prepares that Alfa Romeo. Long history of Alfa Romeo involvement and success. Super guy. And there's our lead car, Stuart Graham up over the curb, bouncing off. That's through Woodcote Corner with an SG1 number plate on it.
Not stiffly sprung, is it?
Rover's not far behind.
No, it certainly isn't. Closing right in. Last time around it was 2.3 seconds, and I don't know if the loss was down to that little wobble. I'm not entirely
there goes
sure it was.
Keegan. He's made his way past Scott Andrews. That's down at No Name. Taking Mahay with him.
Yeah, all nice and lively down around my part of the circuit there. Number 24 with Tim Morley is circulating in their wake, getting a face full of air. No windscreen in number 24 Dolomite. The gap down to 1.1 seconds now, first to second. That was a good lap indeed for Gary Ward in the car that won yesterday, the Rover SDI, number 23.
Chris Ward. And he'll hand over to Andrew Smith when it comes to the time. Stuart Graham in the lead car, number 1, the Chevy Camaro, will hand over to its owner Nigel Garrett. Chris Ward will put Andrew Smith into the Rover, done very little in it for Scott. And number 8, well, Andrew Smith, of course, that record holder, has been here in the past with the big sports cars.
Do you think it's another case of tyre eating by the Camaro?
I'm sure it will be. They'll be going off fairly quickly, and of course the more the car slides, the more the tyres will go off. So it's all about trying to keep them smooth and safe. But if you remember, Stuart Graham won things like the TT race in the Camaro, so over a long distance, and knows how to keep these cars really working well.
But if you want to reduce tyre wear, you can drive like Nick Swift, where at almost any corner, one of the wheels is off the ground. So that's great in the little Mini. It's still running around in 5th place. Great drive.
Absolutely. Darren Turner's right with Tiff Needell, and that is the battle. Needell with the orange helm qualifying yesterday.
Tiff is keeping going though.
His foot absolutely buried. He's sitting, making use of the slipstream there. In fact, it's almost bug drafting, isn't it? NASCAR style. But Tiff thoroughly enjoying this. Used to giving hot laps at Thruxton on race school days with Phil Coombs down there. They're up behind the Chase Gardner and Gerry Marshall Shaw and Kilburn Vauxhall Viva GT, the oldest car in the race, dating back to 1971, exactly.
Just under 2 seconds now between Stuart Graham in the Camaro number 1 and Chris Ward, number 23 Rover. But that's a fantastic battle between Darren Turner in the 15 Capri and Ollie Gavitt. Sorry, Tiffany Dell behind him in the Daily Express Rover. Still smoking, but still circulating. That's the main thing for Tiffany Dell. The pit window is now open, I would say.
Yep, it is indeed. After 15 minutes, the pit window's open. It's being waved past the other Alfa Romeo. It's the Chase and Atwood car, isn't it? And here comes the Rover, using all its grunt in a straight line. Darren Turner holding on there, the GT Ace.
First the pit callers, the motor.
Motile Master comes in. Patrick Watt's waiting to take that over, isn't it? In the background. So was that the one of Callum Lockie? No, it's the Doyle one. Callum Lockie should be in that with its owner, but it's been going well. May well have been, we'll see which helmet gets out. It may well have been Lockie that started it.
Well, it was down on the list as Doyle.
Was it?
Yeah.
Doyle and Lockie driving that car. Kevin Doyle, son of Patrick Doyle, who owns the car. Here comes Mahe, still monstering Rupert Keegan. Can he outbrake him? Camaro round the outside of Alpha. He made it, but he went in too deep, and he's got to wrestle with the car to keep it out of the barriers. He does that very well. And Yvon Mahe, who was a bit ambitious there, and that's let the Triplex Rover.
Well, he's been spectacular and had incidents ever since he arrived here at Goodwood. The Mahe. Oh, the Rover into the pit. So there we are. Those positions just changed. And the pit's looking very busy indeed. Wonderful shot from the end of the pits. Here's a replay for you, Marcus.
One of the Rovers in there. And the Keegan Alpha in for Chris Snowden to get into it. Yes, indeed, a real traffic jam in there. Here we go. Yvon Mahe round the outside. I thought it was a bit ambitious. Much heavier car. Suddenly he realised, as he got it turned in fairness, that he locked a front wheel, which was lightly loaded at that point, and it ran really wide. And then the rear wheel was kicking up a lot of smoke as well. There is
Rupert Keegan. His job done.
Quite a big lad these days.
He's filled out.
Not down to his Formula 3 race weight, but he wants to get there again so he can have a go in his old March, which has been offered. There's Tiffany Dell.
So Stuart Graham has actually had a good lap or so.
Yeah, Turner's
3.7 seconds clear.
Turner was past Swift, and now Liddell's trying to pass Swift as well. So Nick Swift has been monster, but Turner's in trouble. Turner's dropped back, and this on lap 11, all change.
And in fact, the person who's making good ground is David Clark, to be pleased, but I'm sure he's already down in the collection area. Is Roger Wills in 4th place. He's lapping faster than all but the leader at the moment, so he's catching up with Emanuele Pirro. So Roger Wills in the Brute Capri, number 11, is catching number 8, which is Emanuele Pirro.
He'd be a bit pleased with that.
He'd be very pleased with that.
David Clark's disappeared hot foot from the box. Tiff's now up into what is 5th place. Tiff's up ahead of Nick Swift, and Swift getting a face full of oil smoke there in the Mini. He'll hand that over to Jason Stanley, who was 4th in the earlier races in the Minis. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And Nick Swift tricycling through. They're up behind the Golf that's had a bit of a clonk at the front. Morris in that at the moment. Jim Morris in that at the moment.
Slightly back
going into the pits. But Barry Williams on board.
Mahe has, how did he save that? Just past me at St Mary's, you could hear him come off the power.
So has
rear wheels on the
where
grass.
Has Roger Wills gone? Is he into the pits? Haven't got him marked as a pit caller. Liddell then is up into 4th. Swift is 5th. That's the battle you're seeing on screen. Out of contention now. Unfortunately, here's the Chevrolet Camaro. What a wonderful thing it was. It takes you back really to the earlier 60s when the likes of Alan Brown and Jack Brabham, Roy Pierpoint turned up here at Goodwood in Ford Mustangs. So the big Americana was here. Later on, of course, the Camaro became the thing of choice. I think it's 67 when Thomas F. Lynch, the American airman, brought one into this country to race the first time we saw a Chevy. We'd seen the Fords for a few years, of course, the Falcons as well. Henry's with Roger Wills, down in the pits. Henry.
Roger, it's a retirement. Yeah, it looks like it. The oil pressure, it was smoking a lot all the way through. The pressure was fine, but just, it's getting a surge. Oil pressure's dipping down every now and again, so I just don't want to risk it.
You were going very quickly.
Yeah, it was fun. It's such a great car. Mega fun, great grid.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
Catching Emanuele Pirro is none too shabby in a Ford Capri, is it?
Certainly isn't. And did he say just great fun? Just looking at this battle between the Rover and the Mini, Tiffany Dell ahead of Nick Swift, it's absolutely fantastic. Nip and tuck, and I mean the difference is one's a big car well planted on the ground, and the other it certainly isn't. Often with 3 wheels, but he can make up for the loss of ground, but it's still spitting out.
I get the impression, you know, that John Young will be relishing the thought of getting into the car. There he is, getting into the car which currently lies in third place. There's the Pentax master gone out. Stuart Graham. That's our Camaro to Camaro, trying to put a lap on the East African Safari ride height version of Ivan Mahe.
He's been on Safari a few times.
Just as well, it's got high suspension. Through he dives. Laps Mahe then at the end of lap 14.
Now, of course, so Jochen Mass is replaced by Simon Diffie. They did a very good job there, rising up the order for Darnley.
Yep.
Pirro brings the Capri in.
So Pirro is in from third place.
And you know, a good driver change. Some of the driver change has been quite leisurely, but this is a competitive car with a very competitive duo. They're not going to waste any seconds.
They're not.
Yeah, where's my cameraman? Oh, yeah, okay,
the
stay there.
Racing
It's
squad.
Pirro. I'll do Pirro.
Henry's down there with him.
Yeah, John Young, very, very sideways in the Motorcraft Autocar Capri, taking over for Manuele Pirro, who's just taking his helmet off. Finished second, of course, yesterday in the qualifying race, which determined the grid for today's race. Let me grab a quick word with Emanuele. Emanuele, how was it?
Yeah, very enjoyable, but we didn't have the performance we had yesterday. I have the feeling the tires are losing grip more and more, and they're probably too old. We didn't change them the whole weekend. It's a lot of fun, but we didn't have the performance we had yesterday.
Yeah, Stuart Graham was very quick in the Camaro.
Yeah, I would have liked to race him, but there was no point. You know, he was just so quick, so I just moved to one side and let him by on the straight because it was another league. He was really driving well and very motivated, so although I would have liked to race him a little bit, but I had no chance.
You're still smiling, though.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Emanuele.
I like the way that Henry gave him approximately 1.3 seconds after he got out of the car.
So Richard Atwood just got out of the Napolina Alfa Romeo. In the background there I saw Roger Earl, former historic Formula 1 Tyrrell driver, had the ex-Depaille Monaco winning Tyrrell 008 for a while. She shared with Trevor Reeves, the rallycross ace.
Tiff is gradually dropping Nick Swift.
He is, but getting smokier.
Yep.
Tiff up into third. So his father finished 8th here in 1949.
Ford Cabriolet. 3-lap handicap.
Well, the first 4 cars on the track, number 1, which is Stuart Graham Camaro, number 23, the Chris Ward Rover, Tiffany Dale, and number 9 Rover, and Nick Swift in the 60 Mini have not pitted, but Emanuele Pirro, John Young still classed 5th at the moment, but that can be slightly inaccurate according to where they were during in the pit lane during their pit stop.
Well, they've done 15 laps and they are 21 seconds behind the Mini of Nick Swift.
And if it is a 25-minute window for driver change, it's getting down to that, isn't it?
Okay, we've got 16 laps down now, and that's Stuart Graham going through a 1:32.0. 5.8 seconds now over Chris Ward.
Well, I'm glad we're looking at John Young because he is straight onto it. He was very sideways as he came through St Mary's on his first flying lap, and he's not one waiting for the tyres to get the heat back into them. He is going for it right now, and that's exactly what Emanuele would have wanted for him to do, to try and close in on those 2 cars that will have been ahead of them when he pitted.
Liddell bottled up in the chicane behind the triplex Capri, that's got a damaged rear bumper. Liddell in third. And that's why it's got a damaged rear bumper, because Tiff nerfed it.
Nick Swift struggling to get past the damaged Capri on the inside.
The 18 Capri, that is, isn't it? That's Margulies and Law.
Yes, sort of signalling upwards with its rear bumper.
Justin Law.
Was that?
What's happened there?
That's the Esso Capri, I guess.
That's the Esso Capri, the Pochol Bunkum car.
He was going pretty well actually before that. His last lap was a very quick one, 31, as fast as the leaders, if not faster.
That's Alex Bunkum then, I guess, in it.
Yep.
17 laps down.
Oh, by golly, taking out a marker board as he came a long way before, sorry, the 44 Golf. He decided he'd have a souvenir for the race, so long way before he got to St Mary's. He was off the track on the right, took a marker board with him, and yet still got round the corner.
Thought for a minute that Chris Ward was coming in. He put his hand out of his window and acknowledged something and then went past. So maybe they thought maybe he's got a clever system to say the pit lane's a bit blocked.
This is the replay of Buncombe
That's
now
Buncombe.
on board.
Yeah. Massive,
Great
massive
camera
moment.
work there. Oh, 27, the Hermitite Capri has a rather gentle spin out of St Mary's. He's parked on the grass on the exit and is going again. So that's probably Mark Waghorn, because I think Lindsay started that car.
He was a
Lindsay.
2CV racer, wasn't he, Mark Waghorn?
He was indeed.
Sponsored by Level 42.
Mark King and the gang. And there is Tiff's car in the pits, number 9.
So that means that up into third place has gone Nick Swift. Down in the pits, Henry Hope Frost is with Tiffany Dell.
Thanks, Marcus. I'm just waiting for Tiff to take his helmet off, and then we'll have a quick chat.
Wipe the oil and smoke out of his eyes.
Peter Mallett's taken over the number 9. There's a delay while the belts are done up, and the guy's just checking the torque on the wheel nuts. So the doors are shut, and he's away. Big thing, thumbs up from Tiff. Good fun.
How much fun is that? Yeah.
How was it going?
Perfect. We knew we had a bit of gearbox sweeping on the exhaust. I was getting a bit gassed on board. No,
You sound a bit squeaky.
Yeah, we had a bit of. Well, it's still a bit fluffy. It's all carburetor floats, old boy. You know, it's direct injection and so forth. I mean, carburetor float level, maybe not quite right, you know, chap. But I was just thinking, you know, David's boys have just built this thing. It hadn't turned a single wheel before qualifying. And there were a couple of seconds off the pace then, and now it's pretty much on the pace. So tremendous points.
There's so many stories of people getting cars ready at the last minute. It's great, isn't it?
I suppose.
Well, it's all cutting out a bit down there in the pits, but it's worth pointing out that Chris Ward has brought number 23 Rover into the pit stops, into the pit lane, and now we have Andrew Smith just emerging in Rover 23. It was in second.
Yeah,
Let's see how it
Swift
fares.
in as well. So that's put John Young up into, well, in fact, I guess it could be next second now.
Yeah, well, he's not far behind the 23 Rover. We saw it going into Madrick as John Young was coming past the pits. So there on the big screens is the Capri that was started by Emanuele Pirro now with John Young in the Mini out of the pits.
Jason
Swift has
Stanley
handed over.
that. Chris Snowden chasing behind in the Alpha. 19 laps in.
Last chance to pit. No, one more chance,
no,
you
one
reckon?
more go. One more go. So 19 laps into the race. And Stuart Graham, the Cheshire Honda dealer, phenomenal motorcycle racer. His late father, also a great
right, Marcus,
winner.
just a thought if it may cut across as the Camaros go past each other, he won't get to the pits before we've got to the 15 minutes left. Time, will he? He should have come into the pits. I could be wrong. I was last year as well. What do you reckon?
Wow.
I think he's got one too many.
May have happened.
And that could blow it. He was sitting on a good lead, obviously trying to go as far as he could before handing over to his teammate, to Nigel Garrett, but it could well be.
It's handling well, the Camaro, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not much good if he's about to get disqualified.
Absolutely not. And everybody bar the Morley Reed 24 Dolly. The Morris Williams Golf is shown as not having made a pit stop, but we know it has.
Yes, and the Morley Reed Dolomite is that in the pits. Well, we're past the 15 minutes mark, and I'm fairly.
Pit window is closed. Pit window is closed. You're absolutely bang on, Bruce.
Hurrah! I mean, I'm sad because I love watching that car, but it's just nice not to be wrong.
Oh, the Morris Golf has come back in with something blocking the radiator grill.
Oh, well, that's the marker board that was he confiscated from the circuit before St Mary's a few laps ago.
Now, is Nigel Garrett going to be denied his drive, or can he go out and then get disqualified?
No, hand up behind the wheel, so he's coming in, but tick went the talk.
so to speak.
Oh, no, he's been anyhow, because I think the second driver's in the Rover and the
Capri.
The John Young in the Capri were going to catch it anyhow, but how far in the race they could go, Andrew Smith and John Young, before they caught the Camaro, I don't know.
Well, there we go. And this is the second and third place cars together, split by the Buncombe-driven Podium Capri, the SO
Yeah, which
car.
has been lapping very well indeed.
Of course.
As you'd expect with Buncombe on board.
Buncombe in 6th place at the moment.
Lapping in 1:30s. The others are lapping much not as quickly as that, that's for
It's a bit
sure.
special. It sits pretty low, that car, doesn't it? 49 seconds between Graham and Young.
Well, Buncombe really fancies getting past the Rover, and he certainly looks capable of it. When this stagger unwinds, I think we could see Buncombe up into about 4th place.
He's a serious pro, isn't he?
He really is.
Yep, 4 boards up. Through he goes.
And I think John Young fancies to go while maybe Andrew Smith is slightly discombobulated. Hasn't quite made it in the kink before St Mary's. Coming down to St Mary's, 3 car lengths between the white Capri, the SO1, the Buncombe on board, then the Rover. Getting a bit twitchy there with
No,
Andrew
it's not
Smith.
coming in. It's not coming in. Gone by.
No, he just can't come in. It's going to take a time penalty, I would think.
He certainly put the power down. Did you see the way the Camaro snaked away?
It certainly did.
When he realised that he'd missed that chance. Put the power down full. So we have Stuart Graham still leading the race when he should be considering a cup of tea in the pits, because he should have come in to hand over to Nigel Garrett, and running in more orderly form at 23 and 8. They've made their pit stops. Andrew Smith's taken over from Chris Ward, and John Young from Emanuele Pirro in the Motorcraft Capri. Nose to tail as they have been most of the race.
Buncombe's only unlapped himself from those two.
Yes,
He's
indeed.
Still 2.4 miles behind them in reality, with
Yes.
12 minutes to go. So, 21 laps down for Stuart Graham. There's the second and third place cars. The Rover number 23 of Andrew Smith. And
The
John Young.
chicane has been dislodged a bit more. There's more polystyrene over the track. Not sure who did that.
Yes, there's plenty of it. Oh, another chunk taken out of it.
Anthony Reid has taken over the number 24 Dolomite. That's the one without the windscreen. Good grief. Leaving great bits of styrofoam to vault over out of the chicane. But just to say, sorry, Anthony Reid is really doing his house captain role, and he's setting fastest laps for his car, but he's down in 11th, the number 24 Dolomite. No windscreen, of course.
They want double points.
Jim Morris GTI
Graham's
has had
coming
its
in. Graham's coming in.
Jim Morris GTI has lost its marker board, so it's out again.
So the Camaros coming to the pits. Henry, I can see you lurking in the background there on our camera.
Well, there's no one else ready to take over. I thought Henry might have a go, but
Nigel's going to have a go. Henry'd forgotten his flameproofs. Henry
Yeah,
down
he's
there,
waving to his camera.
summoning
He
his
wants-
cameraman. Henry, come on in, please.
Let's wait for my cameraman to catch up, guys. Stuart Graham is out of the car. Nigel Garrett strapped in. The race-leading Camaro that, of course, missed the pit window. Should have come in with 15 minutes or more on the clock, but he didn't. That's a big error by such an experienced crew. I'll get a word from Stuart Graham now.
he may have missed the signal. They've been holding out pit boards. I'm sure it's nothing to do with Stuart.
Stuart, fantastic performance, but a bit of a team blunder there.
Well, I was coming in, and there was a sign on the end of the pit wall, pit lane closed. So I thought, well, in that case, I better go round again.
Yeah, you're already too late, apparently. You had half a minute to get in when you were sort of through Ford water.
Oh,
The commentary predicted it. It's
countdown.
a great shame.
Pretty hat up guy, poor old Stuart Graham down there. And
That was the definition of nonplussed, wasn't it? But there's still this battle between the 23 Rover with Andrew Smith on board leading the race and John Young attacking in the Capri. Absolutely fantastic. This footage could have come from 30 years ago.
And it's clearly not Stuart Graham's fault. He's relying on pit signals.
But then again, you think how many teams are on the pit wall with their pit boards holding them out. I know he was towards the end of the window, so there should have been fewer boards, but still the signalling to the driver.
these guys,
critical.
a lot of these guys who run in clubby races just aren't used to making pit stop calls or doing pit stop longer races. So at the end of the day, it's just new ground for them. Second, old hat to most of these guys. They do it all the time, several times a year. So is the Mini going to come round in third place now?
Yes, it should.
Or is Nigel Garrett still going to have third place?
Here's a replay of the deconstruction of the chicane. Here comes the Alfetta, who goes for a bit of a wheelie when he hits it. Dunk.
Oh, excellent. Chris Snowden.
Over the snowy peaks. But the Rover Capri battle, which is what many people came here to see, is...
Nigel Garrett is still third, Bruce, in Carnival 1. And of course,
16 seconds.
Giving them a time penalty would be counterproductive. He's had a time penalty, he's had a late pit stop and a stoppage before. So who knows what's going to happen here? I suppose the fact remains, well, there was a problem there with that timing of the stop. So
yeah, we wanted to see how far ahead of Jason Stanley in the Mini number 60 that Nick Swift started, and that has now come onto our screens, as you said, Marcus, 16 seconds. So he's not likely to make that up. So it's Rover from Capri,
but that's the
from
outlap.
Chevrolet, then Mini. And that's just what we want.
The outlap was that 1:45, but the Mini has played by the rules. I mean, they'll probably end up being third.
Well, they may well do, but this battle, could end up being first, because the battle between as Pirro gets on the pit wall and tries to encourage John Young, who needs no encouragement to go faster. But if he gets much closer, he could have the Mini in the lead, because these two could take each other off.
Well,
I'm sure they won't with drivers of this experience and this calibre.
Darnley versus Tor Bolton battle, and that was the Tor Bolton team.
Well, they're both houses that need to get a few more points.
They do.
To pull their socks up, I'd say, but fireproof socks, obviously. 6 minutes, just over 6.5 minutes remaining, and I see no reason why this should not go all the way to the flag, unless one of these cars is working its tyres harder than the other, but they're both working them incredibly hard.
Garrett's down in the 34s on his flyer.
That's impressive.
It's encouraging. And Young hops over the curbs down near you, Bruce, as he tries to close down.
Well, he's trying every trick in the book, Marcus.
He's getting very, very close. 30.491, 30.480 are the respective faster times for these cars. They're both lapping in the 32s now, with the tyres a bit used up. Fuel load's lighter, but they've got less grip. Engines are hotter, probably giving a little less power. And now John Young moving in, closing in on his prey down the long Lavin Straight. He's making ground. He's right up on the back bumper of the Rover. He looks to the outside. It's a question of exit. Can he force an error from Andrew Smith? That's what he's going to be trying to do.
Certainly will, but it's a big wide car, that Rover. Someone was joking yesterday, I think it was Henry, that it's a 6-foot car that tries to fit into a 5'6" pit lane. There's not a lot of space around a Rover.
25 laps in, and they're separated by 0.46 of a second. The Buncombe car on the same lap in 5th place. It is 38 seconds behind the Mini, and lapping 4 seconds a lap quicker. So
lapping quicker than the leaders as well. But just behind, well, not behind him, the next one back is Oliver Gavin, who's taken over the number 12 Rover, and he's just setting fastest laps for that car. So very interesting to see, that Ollie can just jump from one car to another. But in fairness, I suppose a big Rover's not a million miles away, albeit slower than the Corvette races.
Another chunk out of the chicane by the Pentax Mazda. It's a bit littered there.
Big slide there from John Young. Going out of some areas. He's already hold it, but he's going to have to get himself back onto the tail of Andrew Smith.
Stuff. We had Barry Williams come right over the grass, round the outside of the pit lane entry board, and then back on track. Didn't lift. He couldn't lift. He lifted. It had been the end of the conveyor belting. But,
might have been in your commentary box.
Going back to, I'd hope not. Going back to his old rally days, winner of was it the '64 Welsh Rally, wasn't it? So back to his rallying days 50 years ago. Barry Wizzo Williams.
Should be a replay of that. He lost him out around the back. Now
here's our replay. There's Chris Snowden, Jason Stanley, and there is Wizzo Williams. And he slides off over the grass, goes down the outside of the barrier, the bollard.
That tyre wall must have looked very large all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
Heading straight for it, but he collected it.
75 years old, made his Formula Junior debut yesterday. Get to Formula 1 soon, he said.
Well, John Young does seem to have the speed to get back onto the tail of the Rover with Andrew Smith, but he just can't find a way around it.
Nigel Garrett's coming back in. Garrett coming back in.
Now, is this to serve a penalty of some sort?
It's a drive-through.
Okay, so that definitely puts Jason Stanley and Nick Swift, with Jason Stanley on board the Mini number 60. Depending how long the drive-through is for.
That's at the chicane. The Camaro's about to go out.
Is it going to
Here it comes out, and the Mini's coming past the pits. It's behind the Alfa Romeo.
Battle on, I'd say.
Battle on.
That is fantastic. Now he needs to get that Alfa Romeo out of the way.
Yeah, that's Chris Snowden.
He's trying to do just that. Chris Snowden, who also, they've been running together for quite a long time now, so he's not likely to suddenly spring past it. So maybe Nigel Garrett can get that Camaro wound up and pull clear before Little Mini can get past the Alfetta. And up front, John Young, he's got less than 3 minutes remaining before we get towards the end of this race, and he is pushing so hard to get the red Motorcraft Capri ahead of the Patrick Motorsport Group Rover.
He's coming a bit deep that time.
Certainly did, but
that was a very fair penalty for the Camaro, wasn't it? Better than a time penalty.
Chris Ward on the screen.
Better than a time penalty that nobody understands.
Well, exactly, because you can see where he's come out on the track, and it's a visual thing rather than just not arbitrary.
The question is, what's the visual with you, Bruce?
Lovely visual, thank you.
You will see them, and you'll see how far apart they are or aren't.
John Young's getting pretty oversteery in the Capri. Are the rear tyres beginning to go off?
Well, I think the rear tyres are going off on all of them, but coming down to the corner before St Mary's, it's about 3 car lengths of the Rover, number 23, with Andrew Smith on board, ahead of John Young, who carries more speed. John Young does through the corner before St Mary's and through St Mary's, but it's gone out again to about 3 car lengths. Just can't get quite close enough to make that attack.
Outside of the track, we've got Garrett in the Camaro just coming out of the chicane, lights ablaze, and he's still probably 100 metres clear. Maybe 150 metres clear of the Mini, which is still behind the Alfa.
Yes, and annoyingly for the Mini, that Alfa is a lap behind, but no reason to pull over. He's lapping as fast as the Mini can go. So
yes, Graham has the fastest lap at 29.355 right at the start of the race, which was nearly 2 seconds inside the pole time.
John Young's back close to the Rover again.
Yeah, he is. 28 laps
well,
in.
this is onto their
Last
final lap now, you see.
Oh, and Young got a bit squirrely there, got up the curb, coming out of the chicane.
He'll be cursing about that because he had to be really close. He wasn't likely to make a move into Madgwick, nor probably Fordwater, but he has to be right in the slipstream with that big Rover in front of him to stand a chance of making a move.
And you see he got on the curb there as well, coming into the chicane. That slightly unsettled the car. He got it balanced. He had much better line through the chicane that time, but came out, just bounced up onto the grass, and who managed to miss the board that Barry Williams went round a couple of laps ago. And it's the Rover then of Andrew Smith.
And he's twice the distance clear that he was the previous time round before John Young had that moment out of the chicane. So it looks as though Andrew Smith will have done enough to get another victory for himself and for Chris Ward here at Goodwood. He's certainly starting to accrue them over the past few years.
Certainly has. Here's the Camaro in third place, thundering past us. And again, the same situation. Jason Stanley is fourth, as he was this morning in the historic Minis. Still frustratingly behind that Alfa Romeo V6. He cannot live with it in a straight line.
Time down to 0.
Time down to 0 indeed. So this is the last time down towards Woodcote for Andrew Smith. So often in those great big sports cars, but trying, well, a lot of drivers in this field trying these big old saloons for the first time, and really thoroughly every single one really enjoyed it. So Andrew Smith going to be putting a big smile on Chris Ward's face on the pit wall as he goes down to take victory, to add to yesterday's victory in the qualifying race, the 23 Rover. There he is crossing the line, and right behind him, about less than a second back, John Young in the number 8 Capri.
Another absolutely brilliant race here at the 72nd members meeting. Goodwood. Winds dropped a little bit during that race, which is very pleasant. There's the Chevrolet Camaro, the long-time leader, the car that could have won the race had they not blundered on the pit stop. Had to serve a time penalty. Stuart Graham already delayed because, of course, he came to the end of the pit lane, saw the sign that said the pit lane was closed, and took up to the start line to take third place. So all not entirely lost for Nigel Garrett's team. They'll be pleased with that on its first run out anyway, to get a podium in this company. Perhaps they should have won, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of ifs in this game. The Alfa Romeo's finished. Chris Snowden delighted, waving to the marshals. There's Nigel Garrett, and in fourth place, a valiant fourth place for the Swift and Stanley Mini number 60. Alex Buncombe has brought Paul Potchol's Capri home in fifth place on the same lap as the leaders. That's car number 3, and in sixth place the Scott Andrews and Oliver Gavin Rover, which is the first of the cars which finish a lap down. Patrick Watts brought Cowley's Mazda, the white and red and black one, up into 7th place with a stout second stint. Chris Snowden was 8th in the number 4 Alfa Romeo, ahead of the Liddell and Mallet Rover and the Morley and Reed windscreenless triplex Dolomite Sprint. So cracking stuff, and what a fine spectacle that made. And they're down in Parc Fermé now with Henry Hope Frost.
Thanks, Marcus. The number 23 victorious Rover SD1, the Patrick Motorsport liveried machine, is here in Parc Fermé. Andrew Smith alights from that car. He'll be absolutely over the moon. First time in this car. Chris Ward setting him up nicely. Big hug by the matching JD Classics boys. John Young, a valiant effort in second in the Gordon Spice Racing Capri, and third will go to the number 1 Chevrolet Camaro of Stuart Graham and Nigel Garrett. They took that drive-through penalty. Could have won the race, of course. It's a disappointing blunder by them. They'll be pretty cross, I'm sure. I'll get a word from Nigel when he comes in. Let's wait for Andrew to have his moment. Let me just do it now. Wow.
Yeah, that was a great race. Really, really good fun. Came out the pit, saw John in my mirror, and he caught right up with me, and it was just a case of trying to keep him behind me. I was having a dreadful time trying to get the car turned in for Levant, and I was sure he was going to get up the inside of me, and that would have been the end of it. But
you're quite accustomed to a fair amount of power and wayward handling, though, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, the car is great. I mean, it's got a lot of grunt, but you know, it's a big old car. It's pretty heavy.
I would say I'll give you a kiss, but I'll let the girls do it. Well done, mate.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Andrew Smith, our winner then. And Emanuele Pirro and John Young are having their TV moment. Can't see the Camaro yet. Hasn't come in to third place. I'll try and grab a word with Jason Stanley, who was 4th on the road. Okay, let's go all the way around here and queue up to speak to John Young and Emanuele Pirro. It's frenetic down here. The cars are parked so close to each other. It's very difficult to get in. Let me. I can't get through. It's all blocked. Help! Hang on a second. No, I'm completely trapped. Let's.
Henry, you know now how Martin Brundle feels.
Yes, I've got them. Chaps, have your wreaths and your kisses, and then we'll have a quick word. No, I wouldn't. Second's good, Emanuele. Honestly. Fantastic stuff. Emanuele Pirro, 5-time Le Mans winner, a Goodwood favourite, and John Young, who's been racing for so many years in so many different cars. John, that was good with Andrew at the end.
Yes, it was. I just didn't have the power to get by, and Andrew made the most of the Rover's bulk and used it accordingly. But yeah, it was a fantastic race. We never touched, and we both drive on occasion for JD Classics, and I don't think punting Andrew off would have been a good move.
Emanuele, you started really well. It's exactly the sort of result and close race that Lord March probably wanted for the first Group 1 race at Goodwood.
Well, in fact, before coming here, I get a script of what I should do, So in the script, it was written that the starter motor the car shouldn't start in race 1 to have some excitement, and it was written that we had to have a very close fight for race 2. Now, seriously, we are here to enjoy, and if we enjoy, everybody in the grandstand enjoys, and I always try to share my happiness, my passion, and I have a great feedback, so I want to thank everybody who is always so nice with me.
So let's have a quick word. Stuart, that's a shame, isn't it?
Well, yes, it's a bit of strategy area, I think they call it now, don't they? But never mind, I'm quite happy because it's the 40th anniversary when we first appeared with the Fabergé colours on the Camaro, so it's a rather nice way of celebrating 40 years, at least to lead the race like we used to do, so it feels great. And
I won't tell you how old I was when you were first doing this, but you were straight back into it.
Well, I won't tell you how old I am then in that case, but I'm old enough to know better. But no, it felt like the good old days, I have to say, when it was a great car, and Nigel's been great fun to drive with. So we've had a great weekend. So we're very happy, and it's nice to see a good old Camaro running at the front again.
Absolutely, very good sporting response. Nigel, you took over, and it sort of, I suppose, the damage was done, wasn't it, with the pit blunder?
Oh, I knew what was going to happen when I got in, but you got to keep going, haven't you? At the end of the day, hey, look, I think we got third. What did we get? I don't even know where we were. So 2 went past, we're in the pit, so we got third. You know, it's I don't think we should be. We should be proud of it. I thought the car was going well. I think the driving was okay. Stuart's outstanding. You know,
he's a legend, isn't he?
I'll have him back definitely. So brilliant. So
there was a moment when you walked away and started to take the gloves off and thought you're not going to get a go.
True. Yeah. Well, you think no Stuart's going to stay out. I mean, what do you do in those calls? We haven't got car to pit communication and stuff, have you? So the pit lane's closed. What does he do? They then remove the board and say it's closed. So we come in and have a go at it and take your penalty.
Yeah, we don't want.
I was getting tired. I have to say that. I was definitely looking for the board.
I do understand.
We don't want pitch to car radio. That's in modern racing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the point, though, isn't it? You've got to make your decision in the car, and we have to work. You know, that's right. So anyway, I think we did the best we could in the circumstances, and we won't make that error again. That's for sure.
Well done, fellas. Nigel Garrett and Stuart Graham, third place in the Gerry Marshall Trophy. Shall we, Mark? Shall we go? Let's go over here and try and find our mini heroes, Nick Swift and Jason Stanley. There's a huge scrum. Yes, there they are. Mark's doing a fantastic job of keeping up. And just like that, they're together. Now, boys, it's been a tremendously good day so far for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I can't believe it. It's the best weekend ever.
This little Mini's got no business keeping up with these big V8s, has it?
Of course it has. It's a Swift Tune Mini.
Did he set it up nicely for you, Jason, the first stint?
Yeah, no tyres, no brakes. You know, so all that sort of stuff. No warning about the oil on the track, but no, it's fantastic. So big thanks to Nick and the Swift Tune lads for letting me share his brand new car this weekend. Nick finished on the podium yesterday. Fantastic result, coming third and fourth overall. We're damn chuffed with that.
So it's a first and a fourth for Patrick Motorsport, the period livery of the dealership. Great stuff.
It's great stuff. It was, and it's just to relive all them sort of when I was a snotty little kid, you know, watching these things, all wanting to be excited and get in them, and just to be in the whole environment of this thing is just awesome. Really, really good.
Did you think there was a chance you might get third with the Camaro having to have drive-throughs and missed pit stops? And
it was a bit confusing. I couldn't quite work out what was going on at the time, and whether he'd lost a lap because he obviously stopped a big chunk and then had to come in. So I was getting a bit excited for a minute because I was thinking, "Go on, he's third." But you know, his fourth is just awesome. We came in with a very rough idea. If we can get in the top 10, we'd be cracking open the champagne. So we're going to be well and truly doing that.
Good stuff. Nick Swift, Jason Stanley, thanks fellas. Fourth place in the Gerry Marshall Trophy, then the Pro-Am 2-driver race. And I think I'm going to have to go and have a sit down now, boys. Back to you.
Well, it was epic stuff. Henry, well done for catching those interviews down in the paddock. It took a lot of us straight back into period.
Well, there's our results then. The Gerry Marshall Trophy, the part 2, the all-important enduro part of it. And the winner there were Ward and Smith. Chris Ward and Andrew Smith, number 23, the Rover, 29 laps down. Second, Emanuele Pirro, John Young, Ford Capri, number 8. Third, Stuart Graham, Nigel Garrett, and the Chevrolet Camaro, the Fabergé car, number 1. Fourth, the mighty Mini of Nick Smith, Swift, and Jason Stanley, number 60. In fifth place, the Paul Pochol and Alex Buncombe, Ford Capri, number 3. And in sixth, the Tim Scott Andrews and Ollie Gavin, Rover, number 12. In seventh, the Cowley and Watts Mazda RX-7, the Rotary Rocket, number 28th. Rupert Keegan and Chris Snowden in their Alfa Romeo GTV6, number 4. 9th, Tiffany Dale and Peter Mallet with the Rover SD1, number 9. 10th, Tim Morley and Anthony Reid in the 24 Triumph Dolomite, the windscreenless car. 11th, Jochen Maas and Simon Diffie in the BMW 2002, number 5. And 12th, the Mahes, Guillaume and Yvan Mahe with the Chevrolet Camaro Tour de France car, number 41. 13th, Lindsay and Waghorn with the number 27 Capri. Then the Jim Morris, Barry Williams Golf GTI, number 44 in 14th place. 15th, Jim Allen Edwards with their Triplex Dolomite Sprint, number 22. 16th, Dan Margulies and Justin Law with the number 18 Ford Capri. 17th, Richard Atwood, Formula 1 winner, of course, and Stephen Chase with the number 2 Alfa Romeo Alfetta GTV. And 20th, Chase Gardner and Gregor Marshall in the Shaw and Kilburn Viva. The rest of the cars went nowhere near the distance, but Martin Spurrell, Stuart Hall in the Commodore were classified 19th place, ahead of Doyle and Lockie with the Mazda, the De Bourman Thibault Ford Capri, the Turner Mackay Ford Capri, the Wills and Clark Ford Capri, and the Gravett Robinson Triumph Dolomite Sprint all fell by the wayside.